Pregame.com.
Big revenge spot for the Big Blue on CBS Saturday afternoon. This is Brad Powers in the Pregame.com studios just off the Vegas Strip. We're talking a big game in the SEC. We got Florida at Kentucky.
Florida has all the momentum. They've won 9 straight games. Does it continue?
In a word, no. In fact, that's right. We're going to play against Florida here. I expect there to be value on Kentucky in my buy price. Let's call it at -7 or less. Keep in mind we're taping this one on Wednesday. And why do I like Kentucky? Number one, rare Kentucky revenge spot. Big bounce back for them. Here's what I expect, because in that first meeting, Kentucky was embarrassed. They lost 88-66. That 22-point margin of defeat, largest for Kentucky in 4+ seasons. They only shot 38% from the floor. That was their worst mark of the entire season. That's an outlier performance. I expect that Big Blue to get big revenge. We like Kentucky minus the points.
Kentucky, the way we keep score in Vegas, has not been doing well of late. 3-11 against the spread. Is this team just bored?
Well, number one, with Kentucky, you're dealing with a lot of players that are in the one and done. At least 2-3 players every year on their roster, one and done. And when you got 18-year-old kids, it's tough to keep them, I would say, maximum motivated on the week in and game out grind of the long college basketball season. I don't expect that to be the case here. I expect maximum motivation from Kentucky. And let's give you a recent example. They had a revenge spot not too long ago. Tennessee punked them on the road in their earlier meeting. So what does Kentucky do in the revenge spot? They go and play one of their best games of the last 2 months. They beat Tennessee by 25.
Now, Kentucky has been floundering for the most part, while Florida has been kicking butt. I've got my power ratings right here, my Brad Powers power ratings. I'm curious. I haven't looked this up yet. How has Florida and Kentucky, the disparity between these two teams in your ratings, compare that January 1st versus today?
Yeah, and we'll go all the way back to the first time I posted those power ratings. At that point, early January, I had Kentucky about 6 points better than Florida on a neutral court. Now, flip forward almost 2 months later, I got Kentucky about 1 point better than Florida. You got to add in, obviously, the home court advantage here for Kentucky. But I think the spot in itself, the revenge spot for Kentucky, is worth 2 points. And I got to talk about my second key handicap here. I've actually recently downgraded Florida. In fact, just 2 weeks ago, I probably had Florida as the better team on a neutral court. But recent downgrade for them, their 6'11" center has been out, and I think it's been overlooked in the betting marketplace. Now, I know Fez, he only averages 7.5 points per game, so he's not a big threat on the offensive end, but he was their leading rebounder. He was their main guy in the middle as far as their defense goes. I downgraded Florida significantly more than the markets did.
Yeah, and I got to tell you, when I see a guy averaging less than 8 points per game and his backup goes ahead and plays well, I don't make any adjustment, but I don't do deep dives into these teams like you do. How much of an adjustment did you make?
Well, first off, you're correct. Florida's won their 2 games without him already, but you look at the spots, they barely got by a Mississippi State team that's rather mediocre. Big revenge spot against a South Carolina team that's offensively challenged. So I'm looking at the betting markets. It looks like they downgraded at 1 point. I actually downgraded Florida 3 points. And look, you just don't roll in 6'11" centers that are, big guys in the middle as far as defense goes.
You can't coach height. Let's make it official.
Yeah, let's make this one official. Pre-opener handicap says take Kentucky -7 or less. We got a rare Kentucky revenge spot here. I expect a big bounce-back performance. Keep in mind that 22-point loss to Florida. That was an outlier performance for Kentucky. They had their worst shooting percentage of the entire season. Plus, we got a key Florida injury that's being overlooked in the betting marketplace. The betting market's downgraded them without that player 1 point. I actually downgraded them 3 points. Add it all up, we're taking Kentucky at -7 or less. More videos at pregame.com.